Oh, we're so grateful and excited about this luminary with us today. We have so much to unfold in this conversation with Robert. It will surely be impactful to you and your journey as an entrepreneur.
And before we get started, make sure you guys follow us across all of our social media platforms at Luminary Panel, and make sure you like, comment, and share this video. And also make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a beat as we continuously grow.
We got some stuff coming. We're so excited. But without further ado, Mr. Robert Bagley. So, Mr. Robert Bagley, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this conversation. Thank you.
Us too. Thanks for allowing us into your, journey and giving us access and being vulnerable with us. Just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you've been through and what you've done.
Sure. Well, I'm a transformational growth catalyst. I do that by engaging employees with servant leadership. I'm a a high energy executive. I've had entrepreneurial experiences all throughout my career. Have expertise in sales management, leadership development, digital transformation. And I've gotten to where I've gotten because I exude trust, professionalism, respect, integrity, and my core values are honesty, integrity, and hard work. I started off in college cleaning carpets, and interestingly, when I graduated, I started a carpet cleaning business with a pickup truck and a portable extraction machine, and built that to 5 trucks on the road and 15 employees. In my late 20s, I sold that business to a franchise of Paul Davis Systems restoration franchise, because I wasn't only doing just carpet cleaning, I was doing water and fire damage insurance work. And so I had a very sellable business that I had created turnkey with processes in place. And then from there, I went to work for the carpet manufacturers. I worked for Shaw, Mohawk, Beaulieu, HMTX. And then recently, I took a turn into the commercial office furniture space, where I'm an executive vice president. So I worked my way from outside sales when I went to corporate America into sales management, and then managing the sales managers. And again, just taking on new leadership roles. My career has taken me from New York to San Francisco to Atlanta, and now here.
Wow. That's an incredible journey. It seems like you've kind of been in a lot of different spaces and places, which is incredible. So kind of with all of that experience and different opportunities you've had, what has been your most favorite part about your career so far? And what has been the most fulfilling to you?
Helping other people reach their goals, really finding out what their purpose is and helping them attain and exceed their God-given purpose, right? And that's the most fulfilling part for me. I really enjoy business development, relationship building, and side hustle. I always have kept my hand in entrepreneurialism, and so I'm an authorpreneur. I started publishing books back in 2015, and you can easily Google Bagley Enoch. That's my famous #1 selling audiobook. I've had about 100,000 downloads of my various products.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's awesome, man.
A little bit of an echo there, but
no worries, man. We're trying to get
thank you. No.
So
sure. And so we'll get into it later, but being an authorpreneur helps me keep my corporate career going too, because it's really the best way to have passive income, if there is such a thing, is to write a book, on what and publish it. And it's so easy to do, but we'll get into that later, right?
Yeah, that's actually one of our goals for the Luminary Panel, to kind of give people a behind the scenes access to how we started this journey, and hopefully, and I'm sure it will, give people inspiration to go on their own journey as if. So just because you kind of gave us a breakdown of your whole beginning to right now, what was the toughest part that you felt it wasn't going to go your way? And how did you turn it around to keep track of your mission?
Absolutely. There was, in anyone's career, someone everyone should be able to look back at that, what I call pivotal moment, where they actually rose above the challenge that got them to the next level. Because until you get to that next level, you can't get to the next level and the next level, right?
Right.
Right.
So there was something that happened when I was a rep. I was a Shaw carpet rep. I was selling commercial carpet tile to commercial entities, and I had taken on a territory that was 400,000 in sales in upstate New York. I covered from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Albany, New York.
Wow.
And it was doing 400,000. And the gentleman that hired me, who was a rock star, was a former Philadelphia Eagles football player, and he had done like 14 million a year in sales in Washington, D.C., selling carpet tile to the government.
Yeah.
But anyway, he promoted me, and I wanted to go to the trade show that was like the iconic trade show for commercial interior design called Neocon. This is back in 2007. And I had turned my territory from 400,000 to 1.4 million in like less than 18 months.
Incredible.
And I said to him, I really want to go to this show, you know? And I felt like I earned it, right? And so he said yes. But what happened was someone else was able to go instead of me, and he had to kind of break that news to me because he could only send so many people, but he kind of made a verbal commitment to me, which I, you know, honesty, integrity, hard work. When I make a verbal commitment, man, I try to do what I can to stick to it. However, he wasn't able to stick to it. So I said, I'll tell you what, I still want to go. I'm going to take off several vacation days. You fly myself to the show in Chicago. I'll work our booth, and you don't have to pay me. It's just so I can learn how to do it. And I'll even put myself up and pay my expenses. So I went and I worked the booth, and I busted my can. Okay. I mean, I met everybody, took them through the booth, showed them the product. When it was done, he pulled me aside. He goes, don't think that wasn't unnoticed. All the managers noticed that. Wow. Send me all your expenses. We are going to pay for it. And I have 6 months to promote you. 6 months to that day, I got promoted to RVP, and it gave me an executive relocation from New York to San Francisco. And I moved my family, my kids were 6 and 4 at the time. Wow. That was a pivotal moment. So when somebody says, hey, you can do this, and then they let you down and they can't do it, whether it was his fault or whoever's fault, I call that a blameless autopsy. We're not going to blame anybody. When that happens, you just got to pivot and figure out how to do it anyway. Don't take, like, as long as it's ethical and legal, don't take no for an answer. Find out a way, be creative. And you know what? Invest in yourself. It cost me a couple $1,000s, but they ended up reimbursing me for it. And it put me on a track to be a regional vice president, which then from there on in, I've been at a VP level ever since 2007 now.
Wow.
Just because you accepted the pivot. A lot of people don't understand how to accept the pivot. And what I mean by that is they see no, and then they take 2 or 3 months off because, dang, I don't know what to do, or they're in a depression mode. So let me ask you this. Instead of you turning to that, what was your energizer bunny to keep you going?
I don't know. Well, you know, I'm a man of faith, right? So we'll probably weave that into this conversation. So I always believe that God's guiding me, and that there's a reason that I'm supposed to be having this struggle or opportunity to overcome, right?
Yeah.
So I've kind of got, you know, the Holy Spirit is my sort of built-in overcomer all the time, right? Like even today, I've had to have multiple conversations where I felt like it was out of the frying pan into the fire, just like one after the other after the other. Just today, before this call. It's like, so like, you just have to be the positive influence wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, right? And you have to be the thermostat and not the thermometer. You have to set the tone, right? And when you set the tone, and like when I walk in a room, that atmosphere, I'm changing that atmosphere for the better, right? Look how I'm dressed, right? And that's one of your questions probably, but the reason I dress is because I'm dressing for that next level, and I'm dressing for the respect because it's my own personal brand, right?
That's good.
So if I go somewhere and I don't have a tie, which I did yesterday, they're like, whoa, what? Hey, what's up, right? Like, you know, I've set the bar so high for even myself now, you know, that when I get to that next level, whatever that is, you know, president, CEO, leadership, business owner, whatever it is, I'm an ambassador for that. So it's not like I'm going to slack. It's not like I'm going to lose the tie because now I've made it. The minute you feel you've made it, you've just disqualified yourself as a leader. I'm sorry.
Dang.
Same as a salesperson.
You might have to repeat that, man. Say it again. That was a fire right there.
Yeah, because I run large sales teams, right? I've run 105 person sales teams that all reported up to me with 5 VP levels. And so when I train salespeople, and I was a sales trainer, I trained all over the world, Israel, Canada, United States. I tell people, the minute you stop learning as a salesperson, or fill in the blank, whatever, the minute you feel like, oh, I know that, I got that, you've just disqualified yourself as a good salesperson. You should always be trying to get to the next level, and there's always more to learn.
Wow.
Wow, that's incredible. And I feel like the way you were talking about your own journey and kind of displaying yourself to the world in the best way you can.
Hold on. We're about less than a minute. Let's restart.
Okay, so make sure you re-click on this link again, and we'll come right back in on here.
You got it. See you soon.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
So within your own career, you've pivoted into a few different avenues as you've been going, including being an author yourself. Within that space, for people thinking of making that leap or that pivot, what tips would you give them if they're a little bit nervous or apprehensive about, actually doing it?
In the author space, particularly?
In the author or any different career shift that you may make.
Sure. It took me probably 7 to 10 tries to get that one promotion that I, finally got. That was that pivotal promotion, right? So you got to be ready to, and you're going to learn along the way, right? You'll get knocked down. You'll get, told no, not now. It's, and so you have to be able to learn from, okay, hey, maybe that just wasn't the right fit, or maybe I didn't present myself well. And then just try to self-evaluate, so that the next time you're ready, right? You're ready for those interview questions. You're ready to explain your experience, your skill sets. Now, when it comes to being an authorpreneur, and I think everybody should be an authorpreneur, by the way, that's interested in developing their career, because having that author status just opens up doors. Having a book that you can print, right? And so I was really fortunate, because I felt in 2016, I wanted to listen to one of the Dead Sea Scrolls manuscripts called the Book of Enoch. There wasn't one out there, and I had already published a book of my own. It didn't do really well, but it was my master's thesis. I went to seminary school, so I have a master's in theology.
Wow.
And so I took that master's thesis. It was a 25-page document, Word document. I made it into a Kindle. And then Amazon was like, okay, do you want to make a click here and then make it a paperback? Okay, I did that. A click here and make it a hardcover. Okay, click here and make it an audiobook. And then you put it up for auditions. And that's how I knew, when I wanted to hear the Book of Enoch presented in a really nice audiobook and I couldn't find it, I really felt led, I believe divinely, to do it myself, because I had that knowledge. And so I had first mover advantage. I found a phenomenal gentleman who had a great voice. His name's Steve Cook. He's a Christian artist, and he was in radio and Broadway and an actor. And he took that manuscript and he crafted this thing out of thin air. We created something. Everybody should try to create something, whether it's a download, whether it's a book, whether it's a newsletter. You should be creating, right? You should be prolific in what you're doing. And even in your posts on social media, step up the game, man. I mean, hey, if you're on a post and you want people to read it, give them something to read, and tag people and put hashtags in there and put emojis and make it fun and make it. So if you even follow me on LinkedIn, you're going to see I've stepped up my game on that big time. But anyway, we got first mover advantage. I told Steve Cook, we got 1 year and then it's going to get flooded by competitors. 1 year to the day we had somebody flood in, but we had first mover advantage. We already had 404.6 star reviews by then.
Wow.
So we were way ahead of the game. So now when you go to that book, it's still number 1 7 years later, and it has 1,500 4.6 stars. And then the next closest one's 500, not even 500. So I would say, if you've got an idea, get it out there. Even if it's not perfect, get it out there. Steve is like, I wish I could have redone that, but we're not going to touch it now because everyone loves it, right? But when
Mhm.
you have that thought, that inclination, you got to act on it, right? Because if you sit on it and go, well, and then you're going to talk yourself out of it. If I had talked myself out of it, I wouldn't be a #1 best-selling audiobook producer.
Yeah, that's true.
That's so
But
true.
because I put it into motion, I
Mhm.
now have that, right? So now on my LinkedIn profile, it says Robert Bagley's best-selling audiobook. Click, boom. And so that's important for people to act on their instincts. And more than you think you do, and people need to hear what you know, even if
Mhm.
you're 19 years old. My daughter started TikTok at 16. She now has 1.5 million followers because she watched what I did in my career, and
Wow.
Wow.
she gives them good content all the time, and so she's hotly pursued by other people to pitch their products.
That's
Wow. That's
awesome.
incredible.
She's 20 now. So
Oh, wow.
yeah.
So, okay, so now we're going to pivot into a different realm. Okay. So I'm going to just go ahead and ask the question, no background behind it. What was the most uncomfortable thing you had to endure in all of your years of being a high achiever?
There's so many things that that I had to endure. One pivotal moment, uncomfortable moment that really helped my career, just as a sales rep before
Mhm.
I even got promoted,
Mhm.
was my boss made some promises to a customer that he shouldn't have in front of me. And so
Mm.
I had to place all of these pallets of material, because I sell flooring. So we had to place like 5 huge pallets, all of different color. Back then it was laminate. And the dealer took this on a promise, and then we couldn't make good on the promise. So I made good on the promise. I
Mm.
got a U-Haul truck and picked up the pallets, and I placed them at another dealer who I had been trying to buy that material before, but I got it to them now at a discount. So now they were willing to take it, but they said, Robert, we're not going to take it unless you go get it and bring it. So I went and bought a U-Haul, and they put all the material on there, and I
Mhm.
took it to sale on carpets. And I saved my boss's job at the time because he did something he shouldn't have. And
Mm.
then I got a new customer who could actually sell it. They ended up taking each one of those colors and stocking it. And then they ended up tripling and then quadrupling their sales, where they now were stocking 12 colors.
Wow.
Now, I could have let my boss fall. I could have let me fall, and I could have let that customer fall, and I could have never gotten that placed. But I was in such a squeezed position, right? Because whatever I did was really treacherous for my career. I was either going to make my boss look bad, or make me look bad, or my customers look bad. But I
Mm.
turned that sort of lemon and made it lemonade by being able to increase my business by a lot more, but exponentially,
Yeah.
because I was willing to go rent a pickup truck, put my Carhartt on, or U-Haul, put my Carhartt on, drive with my tail between my legs to the one dealer, have them load it, bring it to the other dealer, not knowing whether they were going to sell it or pay my bill that I was going to have to hand them. And it worked out amazingly. And they were like, whoa, we had no idea it was going to sell like this, right? And so they added more colors and more colors. And so that kind of situation, again, I didn't cower from it. I didn't lick my wounds. For a couple hours, maybe I did, but then I got back up and boom. Now, the other thing that happened to me in my career that was devastating is I had reached that point where I was a senior vice president in sales, and I had been promoted by the divisional president, who got promoted to president, and he moved up and he moved me up.
Right.
Well, the company fired him because they were going bankrupt, and 2 weeks later, they fired me.
No
Oh,
way.
no.
And now I'm a single income provider for a family of 4. My kids are still in middle school at the time. And my wife and I sat and we prayed and cried on our knees. And then, but that same month, there was a huge trade show in New York City called BDNY. It's the Boutique Hospitality Design Show. And I knew if I went to that show that I would meet some people that I could pick right back up. So I booked a flight, got a room in Times Square, went to the show, and I met the sister company that had let me go out of Canada, and I met their CFO and their executive vice president, and I had an offer letter from them within a week of that show.
Wow.
Wow. That's incredible. I feel like your story in general, just sitting here from where I am, is so important for our listeners to hear because you've had several different experiences where the scales could have tipped the other way. But because you put in the extra hard work, whether or not it was going to be recognized or not, you did it. And I feel like that's something so important for entrepreneurs and anyone in business for that matter should know and should understand because sometimes it's not going to go the way you want it to. But if it does, there is that gain that you can get on the other end, which is just so incredible to see you be on that other end as well. So kind of in that same space, when you've been managing teams, what do you think is the best advice to give to somebody who's managing their own?
I would focus on the wildly important goals, agree as a team together, always get buy-in from your people. People don't like to be ruled from the top down, right? So I like to get buy-in and say, hey, here's where we need to go. Like, we know we need to go here, right? We got to hit a number, right? Whatever that is. Because in sales, it's all about hitting the number, right? You're always walking around with a number on your head.
Yep.
But then once you identify those wildly important goals, and you all agree on them. Now, not everybody's going to agree on what it is. Some of them say, oh, well, top line's important. No, bottom line's important. No, you'll never always agree. So you have to come to some kind of consensus. Then once you have those goals, you really need to start to talk about what are those lead measures that are going to be really important for us to hit those wildly important goals, right? Is it, I've got to go and call on 3 different architects every week, right? Is it, I need to go walk the job of the flooring I did last, month that's now in there to just follow up because guess what? There's more floors there. So if I
Right.
so like so you have to, as a team, got to really identify what are those lead measures and are they, hey, should I join the chamber? Should I join the Lake Nona chamber? No, should I join the OEP or the DOP? And then what do I do with that? Should I get on a committee or should I go deep in one place or should I just be shallow and go wide for now? There could be reasons to do either, right? And then it's important with teams, especially sales teams, to keep a compelling scoreboard, right? So like a player on the court in basketball just wants to look and see, am I winning? Am I losing? And how much time's left on the clock, right? Now, there's a coach's scoreboard that on the sidelines, they're keeping like this big book of all these other things, but the players don't really care about that, right? You have to have it really simple, in simple terms. Here's the score, here's the goal, where are we, and how much time's left, right? And then create a cadence of accountability, create an atmosphere where you're checking in on one another and whether it's a CRM or a spreadsheet, so we have multiple meetings a month. We come together and in those meetings, we really keep a cadence or rhythm, right, of accountability to one another. Those are really important things.
That's
when
awesome.
You have a team.
That's really awesome because I think a lot of people a lot of people say they want to start a company, right? And once they start the company, they feel like they need these people in place, but not necessarily knowing that it's a lot that comes with it, not just what they do for your company. So what are some proven strategies that you use that you can help our audience and watchers with when they're starting their company and building a team?
Talent is everything. We have this beautiful showroom behind me. And I say that's a great asset, but our greatest asset leaves out the door every day. Right?
That's good right there.
You know what I'm saying? And so how have we done in recruiting? Right. Yeah. And when you're out network, say if you're a leader, always be recruiting. ABR, always. I had a boss who told me that. He says, I know I come into San Francisco from Atlanta, but I'm always here a day or early or a day late, and then you don't see me those days. I go, oh, what do you do? He goes, ABR, always be recruiting.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah. Right. And so so that's the key to anyone's success, because you can't do it alone. Right. I mean, yeah, you can write a book and it can do well and you can wash, rinse, and repeat that. But at some point, you're going to need to have somebody help you, right? There is no such thing as passive income. Okay. Get that straight, people. Even the most passive of passive things, you still have to do the accounting and the bookkeeping. So it's not passive. Okay. That's like, I understand we abuse that term, but I have the most passive income you can think of. I just get royalties on the books every month. But guess what? I have to do royalty reports. Guess what? I have to do bookkeeping because I have expenses, right? And guess what? I have to account for the income that's coming in, and I have to put it to my accountant at the end of the year. That's not passive. I'm sorry. This delusion we have with passive income needs to get out of the brains of people, because it breeds lethargy and mediocrity.
That's true.
So me, I don't use that word too much. Now, let's get back to what you asked me. Leaders should get good talent, but leaders also have to manage themselves, right? And so they need to really stick to what is the most return out of my time and energy that I invest that I can get. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're a plumber and are really good at marketing, and you just go market and then you plumb, and then you market and you plumb, you'll never get ahead, right? You need to duplicate those big rocks, I call them, and that is marketing, right? So every leader should be marketing or pushing forward marketing and business development. You cannot delegate relationship building and marketing and bookkeeping and cash to too many people. You've got to be able to get people you trust, and you've got to be able to put big rocks in your calendar to make sure you're out there bringing more business in. You have to decide what is the biggest return out of my time and energy that I'm investing, and you got to put those big rocks in your calendar. Maybe if you're an author, it's sitting down and having 2 hours, 3 times a week of focused writing. Like, that's a big rock, and let everything else filter around those big rocks, right? But you got to shut off your technology. You have to rule your technology nowadays, or it's going to rule you, right? Right? You have to fuel your fire. You got to exercise. You've got to, you've got to eat right. You've got to get good sleep, right? You got to not drink too much. You got to not smoke too much. Those are really important about fueling your fire, because you will burn out if you don't fuel your fire.
Wait, I love that. That's a great way to kind of put it, because that burning building might come if you don't re-energize yourself in a way. And kind of pivoting back to, the way you dress, kind of your inspiration behind that and why you do it. Did you have a specific inspiration in the fashion world? And if you did, who was that? And also, what has led you to this path as well?
Because I've always been in the design community. I mean, look behind me, you've got beautiful interior design, right?
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Thank you. And it's all about texture and scale and color, right? And I've always been a student of that, and patterns. And so I guess it's just evolved. I mean, I probably started about 15 years ago, really kind of touching into doing a lot of match. My wife is Ukrainian, so she always had a Ukrainian European flair of helping me dress. And she comes from the cosmetology world. She's a high-end hairstylist and colorist. And so they're always looking at style and textures and colors and how you can put them together. But it's been really recent that I reinvented myself. I joined the Citrus Club. And when I walked in, they were like, wow, you're really up in the game here. People are starting to dress better because I come in and they know that I'll be the best dressed. So do you want to be the second best dressed?
That's so true. Be with who you're around. Yeah.
One guy said, okay, now it's just when Robert walks in the room, it's just a battle of who's the second best dressed.
That's a great place to be in for you too. You're killing the game in the fashion world.
And I'm inspired by just attainable design, right? I don't spend thousands of dollars on my suits. When I'm dressed up, there's probably $1,000 on me with the various accessories and such, right? But I don't spend a lot, and I try to budget that, but I invest in myself. If you don't go and hang out at Men's Warehouse, Dillard's Men's Shop, right? A couple boutiques and, name them, you're doing yourself, men, a disservice. right? If you want to walk in a room and be a magnet, right, then dress really nice because it shows that you care. Okay. And are you building a personal brand or not?
Yep.
And if you're not, you better rethink that and say, yes, I'm going to, whatever that is. Don't have to dress like Robert Bagley or CJ, who's dressed very nice today.
Well,
And you, Lilliana, right? But be your own brand, right? What is that?
Right.
No, I
So
love that.
the good thing is, because we have this platform, we want to touch every aspect as far as entrepreneurship or vice presidency or whatever the case is. We wanted to touch every aspect. That was one of the main reasons why we wanted to ask you that question, because you set the standard, like you said. So how would you approach someone that's looking to get that type of guidance when it comes to clothing and personal brand? What would your first advice be to that person, woman or man?
Well, they have to be comfortable in what they're going to do, but they need to push the limits of where their comfort zone is, right?
Yeah.
Anyone staying in their comfort zone with their dress, you got to try different things, right? Like listen to what people tell you. When you come in and and it depends on your shape and your weight and all and your height and all those things. But try to be fitted in what you do, right? Like show that you care. I think that's the key, right? And when you dress nice and you put a tie on, we've gone way too far with this casual thing, in my opinion. Like that pendulum swung so far to the t-shirts, the Stephen Jobs black t-shirt and flip-flops and the Google, ripped jeans, whatever that is. And I'm saying, no, set a new standard.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I would tell people as they're listening to this. Challenge yourself. Go and spend, what it takes time. Instead of watching TV, go out and kick the tires and shop a little. Doesn't mean you got to spend anything. Go open up an account at Dillard's Men's Shop. I dare you. I double dog dare you. They've got some really good stuff there. They'll give you a private session before they open or after they close. And you can get custom clothes for a very decent price, or you can get off the shelf stuff. Try some stuff on,
Yeah.
what makes you feel good? What makes you, because it's a mindset, right? It's a mindset because once you dress nice and you buy that suit that you really love and that people really compliment you on, you are now driven to get the next one.
Exactly.
True. Yeah. Wow.
So because that is a great point to make, because for me, myself, you mentioned that you were in a situation where you kind of reinvented yourself. I'm actually in that position right now, trying to figure out what I like and what I don't like, what I like or what I get complimented most in, like colors, material. I'm a big fragrance guy. So like right now I got Lucky 1 Million. So that's when I hear, oh, you smell really, I'll wear that for the whole week. until I say I don't hear no more. But that's really good, man.
People will tell you. People will tell you what, and look be a complimenter of other people. Okay. It doesn't take much. You'll really make friends and influence people really well that way.
That's true.
Today, CJ, I said, I love your shirt. That linen look looks really good on you.
Thanks,
Lilliana I haven't had that one-on-one yet, but she looks great too. And keep that up. And you're both very good at what you're doing with this. Like you really know how to do this. And I can tell you have a passion. And so keep encouraging each other and then find a way to encourage other people. Find something you like about somebody else's dress. And I'll tell you, it's catchy when you share some love.
That's true.
And I think that's a great point within that too, because I think, in this world we are in post-COVID and everything like that, you're right. People have relaxed a bit in their styling because of being online and everything like that too. But as well in that space, we also have people who haven't been networking as much because they're at home or they're not as comfortable going out and meeting people. What advice would you give to those people who are feeling a little bit apprehensive about getting back into those spaces?
Get up and go do it. Like, don't sit. You will never further yourself on an island. You won't.
Right.
You won't.
Dang.
You cannot sit home behind a screen. I know it's all in vogue to be virtual, but that only will get you so far.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go out and network and follow up. And so just throw yourself into it.
Yep.
Go join a Toastmasters, right? At the Citrus Club. Go join a Chamber of Commerce. I just joined the Seminole Chamber of Commerce in March, and I've already gotten on to a committee, the Economic Development Committee. They asked me recently to head up and chair a city committee and then go on the board. And because of my role here, I actually turned that down. I'd rather have a lot of those opportunities that I turned down.
Mm-hmm.
But something else came up in the pipeline that I did accept that wasn't that. It was something else. I can't mention it right now, but you'll probably see that in the coming months. But you will never advance your career behind a screen.
Right.
You have to go build relationships. And I'm sorry, human beings need interaction, and the only way you're going to advance yourself is to go out and meet people. I double dog dare you. The minute you do it, you're going to meet somebody that's going to connect the dot that you need to achieve your goal and purpose in life. They're out there. They're just waiting to meet you, and you're waiting to meet them. And everything to me is a big jigsaw puzzle. So every time I go to a networking event, I'm thinking I need to grab one more piece of the puzzle.
That's good right there.
That's incredible.
Right? I met CJ. That's a piece of the puzzle. Cool.
Yes, sir.
Put that there. Boom.
There you go.
The funny thing is, when I met you that day, that was my second networking event ever. The first one was the Orlandopreneur with Rupert Magnot. I think I'm saying it right. But he's actually our next guest tomorrow. So that's going to be impactful too. So we got you first, and then Rupert, and then we had Lot. Man, we might go viral in the first week. But just to piggyback on what you're saying, I am the biggest introvert. I'm an introvert. You know what I realized last night? I was just working on my computer. I was like, I don't like talking to people much, but I like being around people. But it takes a conversation, but because I feel like I can talk to anybody. But it's those moments where you feel like, oh, I'm not feeling it. They doing their own thing. But the moment I said, forget what I'm feeling, I have people depending on me. I have to make this next connection that can help the people that's dependent on me. So, for example, Lilliana got a chance to meet you. You may be able to hire her at some point because she's a beast. Just having a conversation and, whatever role you need filled, she may be able to fill it. But
I'm hiring, by the way. Just want to put that out
there. Okay.
Yes,
to all the
sir.
listeners, he is hiring. So
exactly.
Stay tuned for that.
Remember, I said always be recruiting. That means you're always hiring.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, see? Well, Luminary Panel is always hiring.
That is
true. There it is.
But no, we're growing and expanding.
Let's talk about this because everybody has an introverted part to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I've been in awkward networking events where I just cowered in the corner and white knuckled that table, right? With that one conversation I was having because I didn't want to move from that, exactly. Right? But you gotta peel your fingers off and go, oh, hey, I'm Robert.
That's it.
Oh, yeah. You're like, I'm doing it.
Oh, here's a tip and a trick. Go find those other ones that are scared to death and say hello.
That's it.
I did that yesterday. Now I've kind of overcome that, and you could tell I'm a bit extroverted, right? But I saw a young lady who was at a trade show yesterday, and she was scared to death. I could tell. And I approached her and I said, "What's your name?" She said, "Amanda." I said, "And what do you do?" And then just the floodgates open, and I'm thinking of hiring her. She's coming here next week. Nice. Because I was like, "Well, come over here." And when I was getting my food, we were eating lunch. She was eating lunch by herself at one of those high-rise tables, just wondering what her next move was going to be. And I brought her and I introduced her to all these other executives. And we just started asking her questions. And man, she nailed every question. I said, "Tell me more. Tell me more."
That's it.
"Tell me more." And she said, "Oh, can I come see?" I said, "I'll tell you what. Let's see how good you follow up. Email me. and
Mhm.
let's see where this goes. Man, I had an email in my box when I got back from that trade show, and now she's locked into my calendar next week. This is what I'm talking about. You don't know who is there at
Mhm.
that networking event that you need to know for your next move, and don't be afraid.
Exactly.
And you know what? If you want to be afraid, go ahead, be afraid, but go and move rather than be frozen. I'd rather be fearful and moving than frozen and staying put.
Say that last part again, man. You got. I can't wait to
We're gonna
post
clip
now.
these.
Oh
It's too
my
good.
goodness.
I'd rather be fearful and moving than frozen and staying put.
Huh.
Okay.
Right?
I like to play devil's
So
advocate here on Luminary Panel, man. So now you're on the hot seat. So let's say somebody is sitting in the corner. I'm afraid to say anything. Obviously, you gave us a quick snippet. Just say hello. But a lot of people don't think of that when they're in a fear-based mindset, or they're anxious, I should say. What are some things they can do to practice before getting to the networking event that'll help them be a little bit more comfortable to at least engage a conversation with somebody that's in that same mind frame?
Well, you should always have an elevator speech on what you do professionally. I'm really agitated when someone comes up to me and says, hey, what do you do? And then I tell them what I do professionally. And then they ask me another question like, yeah, but what's your purpose? Don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Because I had somebody do that to me recently, and it really made me feel small and little. Yeah, well, that's what you do professionally, but what do you really do? Like, what is your purpose?
So let me ask you this. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Do you think that's from being anxious?
No, because the person that did that to me just wanted me to ask them what their purpose was, because they had some elevator speech they
Okay.
needed to get off their chest. And I thought it was, and someone observed this, and
Mhm.
and it was a young person that I'm mentoring who observed this happen to me.
Yeah.
And I called that person that night when we got back, and I said, never do that. See what he did to me? Don't do that. Don't put people on the spot. You're at a networking event to talk about your professional life. You can get into your personal life when you've earned the right. But right now, I'm Robert Bagley. I'm the EVP of BOS Office, Commercial Office Furniture, and we help companies make their office a magnet and not a mandate. All right. Now, when you're approaching somebody and you're not sure what to say, just say, hey, where are you from? Like, and what do you do? Because that, again, but don't like that person patronized me, oh, that's what you do, right? You sell office furniture. But like, who are you? Like some deep, they only did that because they wanted me to ask them, because they had this, like, I help others do this and I'm that. That's rude. Okay.
That's very rude. Yeah.
Right. But I would say one of the things that I've gotten really good at recently, and I've upped my game. I reinvented my whole networking game since I've been in Orlando. I've only been at this 8 months. Is hey, what'd you do before this? Ask them what they do now. Hey, what'd you do before? How long you been doing that? No, 3 months. Wow. Okay. What'd you do before that? Yeah. What do you like to do for fun when you're not working? Hey, that opens up a whole thing, can of worms. That's great. People's favorite radio station is what is in it for me. They want to talk about themselves. Get them talking about themselves. But here's the thing: in a networking event, don't get locked to just one person, but also don't unlock your eyes trying to scan the room. Sit back, scan the room, see who you want to talk to, go talk to them, then be a connector. Hey, you should meet CJ. Hey, this is my friend Lilliana. Do you know her? Be a connector so you're not locked in. That way you can connect you two together, and then I can move on, pivot, right, and meet other people. Because you only have so much time, especially if it's a lunch and you've got a networking thing and then lunch. Because once you're sitting down for lunch, you're locked to the person right and your left and at the table. So if you're really trying to network, get there early. Hello, get there early.
15 to 20 minutes before.
Get a lay of the land. If you don't know anybody, just look who's the best dressed. You want to talk to them. People come up to me and said, I think I need to meet you. Yeah. Why? Because they scanned the room, didn't know anybody. They saw me and they wanted to meet me. That's turned out very good for me, by the way.
Right.
Getting back to the dress part. So
No, but that's the right place to be in, because I feel like if our viewers can take anything, and they should take a lot from this too, it is being that best dressed person in the room to attract others to you. Be that person who, without even having to speak, will have people come. Because I think that's a whole new advertisement for your own personal brand as well, which I think is so incredible. So kind of what we like to do in the Luminary panel in general is we like to ask every guest that we have what they think of us and what we can improve on, because it is our mission to serve our listeners. In your opinion, what can we do as a group here to improve ourselves?
I love what you're doing. I wouldn't say I have any real constructive criticism at this point. I think you just keep improving on what you're doing. I would say constant improvement is how you grow, right?
Mhm.
So you'll look at this video together, as you should, and you'll go, hey, as a team, how could we have done this better? How could we have tweaked this to make this sound better or come across better? How
Mhm.
could we ask better questions? Like beforehand, I went through your question. I said, that one's not so good, right? And you guys were quick to go, and that's what I love about you. You're coachable and teachable. If you're coachable and teachable, I can work with you, right? And you said, okay, no worries. Here's another question. And the question you gave me in replace of that was awesome, right? So just challenge yourself. You be your own critic. Because we're all our own worst critic, and we should be, right? Because what people see is probably more polished than you think,
Right.
but you know where you want to improve, and just do that.
Thanks a million, man. We really appreciate you being on the show. When this one post on all platforms, and make sure y'all get it, turn on the bell. It's gonna do wonders for the community of entrepreneurship, and not only entrepreneurship, sales in general, or whatever the case is. Whatever you're in, it's gonna do wonders for you.
Thank you. Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Lilliana. Nice.
Yeah, and also, where can our listeners find you? On social media, on platforms,
LinkedIn.
where can they find you? LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is hot for me right now. I've been on LinkedIn since 2000. By the way, I'm on LinkedIn if you're in business. Okay, just we can make a whole nother podcast. Your game. Challenge to post good content to, like, all your networking duplicated so that you're showing on social media, so that that's actually working for you. Like I did a post before Labor Day, and I was out at the beach, and that post was getting likes all weekend long. Use it as an extension of your networking. Take pictures when you're out. Don't be bashful. Hey, can I get a selfie? Yeah, great. Right? Show a pictorial essay of all your networking and duplicate it on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn, Robert Bagley. You'll find me.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And thank you so much for talking